Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lawrence, your host, your friend, your coach. Today, I have another great guest for us and for you, for all of us, Mr. Adrian Armstrong from beautiful British Columbia, Canada. We connected recently to my favorite community in the world, the Serving Circle. We had a beautiful chat a few days ago. And from the get-go, I knew that I had to have him on the podcast. A little bit about him. He's been in the health and wellness industry for a long time, been a massage therapist for 35 years. He's all about nutrition. And he invented his own, not invented, he's working with something incredibly fascinating called the PEMF, Pulsed Electromagnetic Fields. And we're going to unpack all of that. So there's a lot more I can tell about him, but I will let him share that without me butchering it. So, Adrian, my friend, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Payman. It's great to be here.
Pleasure of
Yeah.
mine. Tell me, for people, we're going to talk about your business, your impact, and all that good stuff in a while later on. But for people who don't know you, tell us, who's Adrian as a man, as a human being?
Well, I've always kind of been about helping other people. Probably due to some health issues I had myself. I had a chronic bad back from my late 20s till about 11 years ago, really. Um, and all my family members ended up passing away with various forms of cancer. So that for me kind of just made me do a deep dive into health and nutrition and ways to avoid going down those same pathways. Just so for really my journey's been my own personal health, and then when you do massage for 35 years, you're not doing it trying to get rich. You're doing it because you're trying to help people. So you can only do so many massages a day. But
Yeah.
I just loved that. Was out of all the things that I've done professionally, I got my very first job. I was a teacher. I taught school in Montreal and I taught special ed high school. So I was used to dealing with people that had some issues as well for special ed reasons. And then I got into photography. That was my passion as a teenager. So I did that professionally for about 15 years. And then
Wow.
someone stole all my camera equipment and my portfolio out of my car. So I just
Whoa.
had to look at myself and go, okay, maybe it's time for a new chapter. And I stumbled upon massage. I just kind of always had a gift for massage. I would massage friends and do foot massages, and I stumbled into a clientele, and it just exploded for me. And I did massage for 35 to 40 years, and it was very rewarding. I really loved that. So I'm also a singer songwriter. So I've got a
Really?
couple.
Wow.
Yeah, I got a couple of CDs. I play guitar. My dad was a professional keyboard player.
Amazing.
He used to play the big pipe organ in the church in Montreal, and that I didn't appreciate it at the time. But thinking back on it, with multiple keyboards and pedals and full stops,
Yeah.
he was amazing. He was very, very talented. Um, I couldn't learn keyboard from him though. Just parental kind of not always the best person to learn from. So I took some guitar lessons when I was 12, and then kind of just picked it up on over the years. And so I love playing guitar, and I've written 2 CDs worth of songs that people can listen to online for free. And those are mostly kind of life lessons for me, about some about health, some about love, some about just things that you should pay attention to in your world, in your life.
Beautiful.
That
Wow.
that health has always been kind of my main forte. So when I stumbled upon the PEMF, that just kind of changed my direction from doing massage to teaching people about PEMF.
Health is a foundation of everything. There's a saying all around the world, every culture that says health is our greatest wealth.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Because
You can have all the money in the bank, but if you don't have your health, then it's not doing any good, right? You can't enjoy it.
exactly, exactly. One thing that you said that I can really relate with, you said your parents, a lot of your families passed to cancer. Both of my parents passed to cancer. And that also opened my eyes to a whole new world of doing things. In the process, I saw things that I wish I had never seen, especially what is being done in the pharmaceutical and medical world. But you
Yeah,
cannot undo that. And well, it's a blessing in disguise because that really shows you that, hey, it truly is our responsibility to take care of ourselves, not just medically, but in
Yeah,
every aspect, spiritually, financially, and everywhere. There's not government, nothing that's going to come to save you. You have to take care of yourself.
no, yeah, absolutely. And I'm kind of alone in the world. I was married once, but not anymore. We never had kids, and I have no family, so I'm basically the end of the line for our genetic pool there. But yeah, you do. Nobody's going to come and save me. So just educating myself. I always love to learn new things, right? So and most of it is in the health kind of field, and I'm definitely not a big proponent of drugs and surgeries unless they're absolutely necessary. I mean, the allopathic medicine can do amazing things. If you're in a car accident
Yes.
or for very serious conditions, but when it comes to most people's health issues, which are chronic
Hmm.
disease, our health system really, in North America especially, it's probably different in other parts of the world, but here it's not great.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. One thing that you said that I want to add to that, and that is you said you're at the end of the line when it comes to the heritage and all that. But I would add to that, you may be the end of that line, but you're at the start of a new line to inspire others to change and empower and other lives to your teachings, to your healings, to your simply sharing your gifts. And
Yeah,
that's much more going to be part of your legacy.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It's not just all about bloodline, right?
no,
And even with family. I mean, you collect people in your life that become like your family,
absolutely.
right?
I heard one thing that says that it's about how people remember you. That's
Yeah,
true legacy.
absolutely.
Beautiful. Awesome. What I like to do now is to ask you a series of rapid fire questions to further get to know you as a person. Ready?
Yeah.
All right. So, Adrian, what makes you happy?
Playing golf makes me happy. Playing
Yes.
music makes Um, just being outside in the sunshine makes me happy. Walking in nature makes me happy. Um, Hugging people makes me happy. And unfortunately, after the pandemic, I kind of lost a lot of the human contact that I used to have. So, but yeah, there's so many things make me happy. That's something that I've kind of have a philosophy of the things that make you happy are sometimes things that you used to do as a teenager before the real world stepped in and you had to go out and work and make money. And so the things that used to be hobbies. And for me as a teenager, playing golf was one, playing table tennis, playing music, playing guitar, singing, all those kind of things I did because I loved them, not because I was trying to make money at them.
Yes.
To me, that's the key, that life should be more about play. So I try and make everything in my world more about play than work, kind of. It's just got a different feel about the word.
Absolutely. It's all about keeping our inner child as alive as possible, even when you reach 95,000 year old, because we all
Yeah.
want to have fun, regardless of what age you may be.
Well, I just turned 71 last month,
Wow.
but inside I feel I'm still the same person that I was as a teenager. Really, it's the
Absolutely.
same kind of dreams and desires and wishes, and the core of who you really are doesn't really age. Hopefully, it gets a little wiser with age, but it doesn't age. So it's just the body that kind of ages, and I like to slow that down as much as possible because after having chronic pain for so many years of my adult life, I don't want that anymore. I want to, I kind of always felt I would live to 100. I had a grandmother that was 102, uh, and she was sharp as a tack. And she was in England, but I went back on her 100th birthday and celebrated that with her, and she was amazing. So I would love to be more physically active than she was at that age. I'd still like to be playing golf at 95. So I learn whatever I can to help me go down a pathway that will keep me feeling good as long as possible.
Absolutely. I saw a video a while ago about a doctor saying that if every doctor in the world would prescribe 1 hour of mandatory laughing and smiling to people, that would reduce by 95% of all ailments. Because what causes ailments? Stress. Now, when you
Yeah.
smile, when you laugh, your body becomes toxic to stress. And when you're laughing and smiling, it's impossible for you to get pissed off, to get upset.
Yeah.
You're going to be in a state of, you're going to increase your vibration and it's going to rejuvenate in a way in the process your cells. So one
Yeah,
thing I
it
always
does.
do each day is watching comedy. I still watch some cartoons. I grew up in France. I love watching old French comedy movies. Just
Yeah,
laugh more. People need to laugh more.
they do. Yeah. I was born in England, so I
Yeah,
kind of drawn to the British comedy, but they're
yeah.
good at laughing themselves.
Oh yes.
But also, uh, I used to teach Tai Chi,
Oh wow.
and one of the practices that's very common in different Tai Chi practices is what's called an inner smile, where you just consciously smile at your organs, smile at your heart, and smile at your liver, and smile at your digestive system, and just
Wow.
just focus on sending that intention of a smile to all the different parts of your body,
I love
and
that.
to
I'm gonna write this down. Inner smile. I'm gonna do some research on that.
yeah, Mantak Chia is a great. He's got lots of books, but one of the books is called something about the inner smile.
What's the name?
Mantak, Mantak,
Okay.
Chia, Chia.
And that's a Tai Chi practitioner, master.
He's a Tai Chi master, yeah.
Okay. The inner
But
smile. Heard of. Okay.
yeah, he's one of the more well-known, renowned experts on Tai Chi, but also for inner health and different kinds of meditation practices, microcosmic orbit, where you're intentionally again moving energy through your body, because we're energetic beings, right? We have energy flows in our body. All the Chinese acupuncture meridians are all energy flows.
We are
Yeah.
energy. Yes, absolutely. Love that. Love that. Now, tell us, what makes you smile?
Ah, lots of different things. Nature, especially, but it's usually people. I love watching people. I love interacting with people, and that's where I get a lot of my joy and smiling from other people, other beings. Animals. Again, love that. When I was doing photography, I was usually either filming people or filming animals in nature.
Do you have any pets?
I don't anymore. I've had pets mostly when I was a child. When I was a small child, I'm more a cat person than a dog person. Unfortunately, we had a horrible dog when I was a very small child, so kind of turned me off dogs a little bit.
What made the dog horrible?
Uh, It was not to malign the French, but it was a French poodle, and we got it from someone who had mistreated it.
Oh no.
So it was very hard to get any kind of relationship with it. And also the German Shepherd across the street chased me. I was playing football. He chased me down and bit me in the back.
Oh no.
So so just being bitten by dogs and then having a horrible
Yes.
dog, that yeah, it wasn't my best exposure. I love dogs now, other people's dogs.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Wow. Now, let's take the happiness factor a couple of notches higher. What makes your heart sing? What sets your soul on fire?
um, when I get really positive results from people that I've helped in some way, that's probably what lights me up the most. When I've helped somebody with something in their health, usually, then they come back with a great testimonial, or they just appreciate what you've done for them. That really lights me up more than anything, probably. And music too. Music does the same thing.
Absolutely. For me, one of the greatest rewards in life is when you see the gratitude in someone's eyes that you helped, especially people that have nothing to give you back. It touches me so much. It gives me goosebump. It I call this orgasm for the soul because it literally uplifts you like no other things. When
It
someone,
does.
it's beyond words.
It is. It's beyond words. And I've literally saved people's lives that have been told
Yes,
they're gonna be dead in a month, right? And then they're not, and then they healthier and healthier, and that just there is no feeling for me that compares to that.
absolutely. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
A lot of the conditions that are going on the planet right now, the lies that we're told constantly, the misinformation that we're told constantly, the um, interfering in people's freedoms and rights makes me angry. The way people treat other people, the way everybody's programmed to be divided and conquered. This race against this race, and this
Oh, yes.
religion against religion, and this political party against this political party. And there's a lot of anger in the world, and people aren't overall happy, right? And social media, I think, has taken that up a notch because people feel that they can say things in a post that they would probably never say to your face,
Oh, yes.
and then it's there forever. And so I try not to get involved with that emotionally because that can be very upsetting and saddens me. And I try I try not to get angry at things because anger doesn't hurt the other person; it just hurts you, right? So you got
Absolutely.
to kind of forgive the way people are because they've been brainwashed into this kind of behavior. Um,
Absolutely.
I've kind of always been a conspiracy theorist, so called. And I would say 99% of the things that were conspiracy theories have now been proven to be true. So I've always been a resistant to authority. I don't like being told. That's why I've always worked for myself. I mean, as a teacher, I had a principal, but in the classroom, I was working for myself.
Yeah.
Doing photography, I was working for myself. Doing massage, I'm working for myself. So I've never really had like a normal kind of a job. Teaching was the closest thing to a normal kind of job. But again, in the classroom, you were the king.
Yes.
So I've always resisted being told what to do. I could never work at something where somebody was saying, "Go do this and do this and do that," and okay, now you can go to the bathroom or now you can go home,
Or
right?
beg for some time off, some vacation.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I like to be in control of my own world. Um, and I've been like that since I was a kid. I've always been a dreamer and created. When I look back at my life and all the positions I created, I did actually create them, even for teaching. I did not have a teaching certificate. I was the first person in the Protestant School Board of Montreal that got to teach, especially high school special ed, with no teaching certificate. It had never been done before. Photography, I was self-taught. I just picked up a camera and people would pay you for your work. Massage, again, I didn't go to massage school. People have been massaging people for thousands of years without having to be certified. And then when you're part of a body like that, now you're under the authority of them and their rules and what you can do or can't do. And so I basically have been self-taught in everything that I've done and created ways of surviving in ways that made me happy, that I wasn't being told what to do every day.
we are pretty much similar in that. I've always been fiercely independent all my life, always entrepreneurial. That's why I've built a life that I'm building because for me, freedom is the most valuable thing. My freedom,
Yeah,
and my freedom is not for sale.
yeah.
And yeah, no, it's completely agree with you. Absolutely, absolutely. And you mentioned about conspiracy theories. I've always been the same as well. Always considered like always outside the box. But as you said, 99% of those are now becoming confirmed. I like to look at those as seeing through the BS. not conspiracy theorist, but seeing through the BS, seeing what things really are. And I was able to see that from a very young age.
Yeah,
And I was always being attracted, captivated, fascinated by anything that's considered conspiracy theorist or, supernatural, UFOs and all that.
yeah,
That to me is crack.
yeah, yeah. Me too. That's it's always been like that for me as well. And
Awesome.
then conspiracy theory was a term that they made up to make everybody sound like they were wackos,
Yes.
right?
And now we're seeing who's having the last laugh.
Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
there's so much that has yet to be uncovered. Our
Oh,
entire history, everything you learned in school,
absolutely.
the pyramids and how old cultures are, and the
Yes.
theory of evolution. And I mean, it's yeah. I've just always had a sense of people have never been able to lie to me and have me believe it. Whether it's just like on a personal one-to-one thing and someone tells you a lie, I've always had this built-in lie detector, and it's served me well.
Absolutely. I'm completely with you on that. Awesome. Now, what scares you?
Hmm. The World Economic Forum,
Oh,
uh, some of the the agendas that are trying to be put in place to control the entire world's population, digital currencies where they track your money, tell you what you can spend it on, or shut your bank account down if they choose to. Those are the kind of things that I worry about. I try not to worry, but those are the things that probably scare me the most. AI is a bit
yeah.
that I avoid it. I don't. So many people adapt it now for marketing and saving themselves time. I'm kind of avoiding it completely. Um, it's got some future possibilities that don't look great. Uh, but that's mostly those are the type of things, and some of the people that are running the world, the fact that they have their finger on the button and we're not in control, and the just that whole agenda of one world government, one world control, because that's again like you, I'm all about freedom. So anything that threatens that freedom for me and for anybody else on the planet, whatever country they live in or whatever race they are or religion they are, that's scary to me because they learned how to brainwash people. They learned how to divide and conquer and get people fighting different factions against each other. And there's a lot of scary things going on the planet. Like
Yeah.
we just had in Vancouver here in Canada just last week. We had some guy drive into a crowd of Filipinos at a festival, a street festival, and he killed like 11 people. Those kind of things are scary. That there's people out there that are that messed up that that's what they choose to do. And
Indeed. It's a very dangerous world we're living in, and if we don't come back to our common sense and stop being divided, instead come together, it's not going to end well.
yeah, yeah.
And
So we're all human.
yes,
We all have a lot of things in common with each other. Yes,
yes,
there are beliefs that we might grow up with, but again, those are things that you're taught when you're a baby. You're a clean slate, and then you get indoctrinated, whether it's from parents or teachers or school systems, or where those beliefs get implanted in you that this is good and this is bad and you should hate this person and you should kill that person. That's all so ridiculous to
oh,
me.
my God is bigger than yours or better than yours, or my
Yeah,
way is better than yours. Come on, they're all the same,
yeah,
just different
yeah,
name.
yeah. We all want the best for ourselves. We all want the best for our kids. I think I, I would hope that most people would want some kind of free life where they had free choice in things. And because for me that's the biggest thing for me, to be able to get up in the morning when I want to go to bed at night when I want to choose the activities that I do throughout the day. Every day of my life is the most important thing.
Absolutely. I'm completely with you on that. And that's one of the reasons that I learned a long time ago that if your voice at the urn doesn't make a difference, you can vote with your wallet, and ultimately you can vote with your feet. That's one of the reasons I left Canada because I didn't agree with the way the country was run, or rather ruined. I didn't want my
Yeah.
hard-earned money and tax go to policy I didn't agree with, so I just left the country. And I'm very happy here in Vietnam. No stress, living in a beautiful beach town, and just following my hearts and having beautiful conversations with people that like you and all that that share the same values. But we all have that option. It's just a matter of priorities.
I think there's a lot of people though that don't realize that they have that option
Yes.
because they've just been indoctrinated
Brainwashed.
so
Yes.
that they come to believe what they're told, and unfortunately, that's not always a good thing.
Exactly. Yes. Anyways, let's talk about more positive things. You love traveling, don't you?
I don't travel much now. I used to travel a lot more. Right now, I don't even have a passport, so I'm in Canada, and that's where it is for now. But I do love to travel. I was born in England.
Okay.
I've traveled every part of Canada and probably about half of the US, but I've never been to Asia. I've never been to Australia. I've never been to the rest of Europe. So there's a lot of countries that I haven't been to.
Awesome. We can do an entire talk, another episode on traveling, but I'd like to take you down a different type of traveling, down memory lane. Go back to when you were growing up. You know, when we're kids, people around us, family, relatives, teachers, neighbors, friends, always ask us, "Hey, Adrian, what do you want to become when you grow up?" What was your answer to that as a young boy?
Um, well, photography, but that probably didn't start until I was maybe 10 years old. Um, Prior to that, I I don't think I had any real ambitions of a career.
Mm.
I when I was in England, I grew up watching Ivanhoe. He was the white knight kind of guy. So I think I've always had this kind of white knight complex of trying to save people from something. So that's not always a good thing because you can't always save people, right? So as a smaller child, I had night costumes and things like that, right? But that wasn't really an option to be a knight when you were as a working thing as you got older. But yeah, photography was my first thing, and that was kind of my second job. Um, and the teacher, I had some really good teachers, so teaching was kind of something that I was attracted to as well. And my dad was a teacher; he was a music teacher. So I was kind of attracted to teaching, and that was actually my very first job. Um, but once I got in there and I didn't have a certificate, and then I realized I would have to go back to school. If I wanted to make more money as a teacher, you basically have to go to school forever to get more and more higher levels of education because that was the only way you got higher pay was either higher education or more years of seniority. And I just couldn't see myself going back to school for summer schools and evening classes and things while you're working to try and increase that. So teaching didn't last that long for me. It was just a 3 or 4 year kind of program.
Absolutely. So, growing up, what was your relationship with school? Did you love school or hate school?
Um, Probably a little of both. I really loved when I had a good teacher. I loved it. And in elementary school, I had the same teacher for 2 grades in a row, and she was fantastic, and I loved that. And I loved my French teacher, and I was in Montreal, and but moved from England, so French wasn't my first language, but I ended up taking a couple of extra subjects in French because I loved my French teacher. I loved the music teacher, but if I had a bad teacher, like my math teacher, I didn't enjoy that at all, right? So
Yes.
so it was kind of a love hate thing. It would depend on who was teaching me.
You know, a funny pattern I noticed, I just realized it now, that most people that don't like math is because they had not the best teacher. Why is it that it's usually the math teacher they're not the best teachers? At least as far as personality wise. Sure, they're very competent in their craft, but
I think math for me, I love geometry.
yes.
Um, but when it got to algebra,
Mm,
it was just that I could not possibly see any use for it in my future life.
yes,
So to me, it was kind of like a waste of time.
exactly.
Like,
Same here.
you're teaching me this. It's hard for me to understand because it's not relatable to anything in the real world. And I know I'm not going to use it in anything that I do in the future. So you're wasting my time.
Yeah, you don't want to become an engineer or a scientist or chemist. You don't need that. Yeah. So
No, you don't. Yeah, you don't need that.
absolutely. So imagine that we were in the same class, say around grade 10, grade 11. What kind of boy were you back then? Were you the quiet one, the nerdy one, the shy one, or the chatterbox, the superstar, the athlete? What were you back then?
Grades 10 and 11, I actually, um, when I was going to school in grade 11, I was in Alberta, and that was kind of the last year of high school. I was kind of advanced, especially in French, because French classes in Alberta were kind of a joke after being virtually bilingual when I left Montreal. And my teacher asked me to recite my phone number in French, and I rattled off a whole sentence and said, "This is really kind of beneath me, and I speak better French than you, and my accent is better." And I got sent, and but I didn't have to go to French class for the rest of the year. Um, and
Uh,
then I actually left Alberta and moved back to Montreal 3 months or a month or two before the end of school, and wrote all my final exams in Montreal. Um, but yeah, I was good in school in the subjects that I really enjoyed, and
yeah.
I had a good network of friends. But yeah, I wasn't I played most sports in school. I played baseball and basketball and football and hockey and all those things as a teenager. But I didn't love team sports as much as I loved the individual sports like table tennis and golf. And those were the ones I excelled at. The other with the team sports, I was okay. I'd get picked for the team, but it wasn't my favorite thing. Right?
You know, I can completely relate to what you did with French. After we moved from France to Canada and at the age of 14 and I think it was grade 9 in Toronto, I was actually the one helping the French teacher correct the papers and all that. But for some reason, at the end of the class, the semester, she didn't want to give me an A plus. She gave me an A minus. I still don't get why.
Uh,
But anyways, that was a fun experience. That reminded me some good times. Yes. Now, looking back when you were a teenager and a young adult, were you popular with the ladies?
uh, Fairly, yeah, yeah. That's when I lost my interest in golf and playing table tennis was when I discovered the ladies. So yeah, in high school before in Edmonton in high school, I had a lot of female friends, and I've always had a lot of female friends. More, I've always related more to women as friends than I have to the men. I quite often the things that guys talk about have no interest for me at all.
Like
Uh,
sports
no,
and all that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
all that stuff and all the
Sports, drinking. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
yeah, it wasn't my scene. So I would much rather sit and talk to a girl than I would hang out with the guys.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, do you remember what was your very first job? And do you remember how much you got paid the first time you worked?
Um, Bagging groceries in Woodwards. Well, no, my very first job was probably a paper route when I was a kid,
Ah,
but the first kind of employee job was a grocery bagger in the grocery store, and it was I don't know 250 an hour or something.
wow.
Wasn't a lot of money,
Yeah.
but back then gas was 35 cents a gallon kind of thing, right? So
I remember when we first moved to Canada in 95, it was literally 43 cents.
Yeah.
I remember. Wow. How much is it now in Vancouver, just out of curiosity?
It just went up by 20 cents a liter today. It
Damn, 20
was,
cents.
yeah, it went up to $1.49 a liter. So, and there's like 4 liters in a gallon kind of thing,
It's
right? So,
129 before. Okay, wow, that's a big jump.
yeah, from 129 2 days ago, and I went out today and it was 149. So it went up 20 cents a liter. So that's, 80 cents a gallon.
That's another thing I'll
So
never understand
the
because
election's over, right? So before the election, the gas prices took a big dive to get everybody happy. Now the election's over, the gas prices just went up again. So
yeah, that's one thing I will never understand because we are blessed as Canada and country to have the second biggest oil reserve in the world. It should be very inexpensive, yet it's some of the most expensive. I remember 2 years ago when I was last in Canada, it was almost 250 in Toronto
yeah,
per liter.
yeah. They don't refine it so much here, right? They've
We
got the
sell it to
oil.
the US and then we buy it back at 5 times the price from the US.
We should have our own oil refineries and process it here. Yeah, there's no, Alberta has cheaper gas prices than we do here in British Columbia. Different provinces are all different.
Yes, yes,
It's all a scam, and so much of it is just taxes,
absolutely.
that aren't necessary.
Yeah. Wow. Now let's move on. Let's talk about something more happy. For example, there's a saying that says, change your story, change your life. So when you're at some of the lowest moment of your life, the darkest moment, how did you, Adrian, change your story internally to change your life externally?
It's got to be done through conscious intent and understanding the power of the subconscious mind and beliefs and how you talk to yourself
Mhm.
and what you're consuming in the world. Whether it's musically, the kind of TV shows you might watch, just what you're feeding your brain with, right?
Absolutely.
We become what we think about, right? So
Yes.
it's controlling that thought process and intentionally creating. I've always been a believer in the ability to create your own world and your own dreams, right? And that all comes from first the idea. Your imagination is magic, right? That's the God power within you, is the power of creativity, right? So you've got to use that imagination, and unfortunately, it works in both directions, and most people are, and the way our mind is actually evolved, your brain is always on the lookout for danger, right? So and people remember the negative things more than they remember the positive things in their life, but
Yes.
you're hardwired to be on the lookout for danger, and then you kind of have these blockages and scotomas to things. It's kind of like when you buy a new Audi, and then all of a sudden you see Audis everywhere
Or the
because you
red car or whatever. Yes, yes, absolutely.
yeah,
Yes.
you've got a reticular activating system that makes things that are important to you scream through. But the primitive brain is only looking for danger, right?
Mhm.
So when you're being chased by a wild animal or things like that, but stress in today's world just doesn't go away, right?
No,
It's constantly, right? So you've got to kind of control the input that's coming into your brain, but more importantly, the intention and the imagination and the creativity, and realize that you can create your own world, but it's up to you to do it, right? It's not going to happen from somebody else necessarily.
that's
Although
an
other people can definitely help on your journey, but if it is to be, it's up to me, right?
absolutely. That's one of the thing that has been completely been hidden from us that we can create a reality. It was Einstein who famously said that imagination is everything.
Yes,
And we are literally whatever you see around you, the sofa you're sitting on, the glass you're wearing, the clothes, the computer talking on, everything started from someone's here.
absolutely. Yeah,
Now the question is, what's in yours here? We are just like you said, just like the body, we enjoy eating. delicious food. So does the mind. That's one of the reasons I completely stopped watching the news. 6 years ago, one of the best decisions I made.
Yeah.
Second
Oh,
only to, yeah,
I can't remember the last time I watched the news. Yeah.
exactly. And what we entertain here, we speak, and what we speak will literally manifest and create. That's not who, that's real.
Yeah.
Because we're antennas for receiving, we are frequency, we are energies.
That's
And
right.
whatever you project, guess what? You attract.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that's been hidden from us. And but fortunately, especially since the pandemic or pandemic, whatever you want to call it, more and more people are awakening and become aware of that. That hey, I have quite a lot of things that are actually under my control that I can do. Like a lot of people are coming to the realization that they don't need an intermediary to access to God. That's why religion is kind of slipping away. More people becoming more spiritual
Yeah.
for that reason. So it's a fascinating trend we're sitting, not a trend, but fascinating new direction that the world is going. Yes, on one hand, things are not looking good, but on the other end, more and more people are awakening. And that's what
That's,
really gives me hope.
yeah, definitely. It kind of backfired in that way for them,
Oh,
because
it's a blessing in disguise. Yes.
the control of information has always been the way to control people.
Yes.
Right? Originally, only the priests could read books. Most people weren't even educated to the point where
And it
they
was
could
in
read.
Latin. Go figure, even harder. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So now with the internet, information travels literally at the speed of light over the entire planet. In 24 hours, the entire planet can know something new. Right.
Like
So
me and you, you're in Canada, I'm in Vietnam. There's 14 hours between us, yet we talk at the same time, as if we're sitting
exactly.
across each other.
Yeah. And that to me is a fascinating technology, because when I
Yes.
was doing photography, it was film. And at no point did I ever imagine that your phone could be taking 4K high definition video that you could literally watch immediately and then share. That never crossed my mind that I would ever see that in my lifetime. Things are changing so fast, so rapidly, and people are waking up fast and rapidly, right? So
Yeah. I don't know if you remember
good,
when say, go ahead.
just saying, that's a good thing that
Yeah,
that we now have access to all the information. Now you just got to be able to sort through what's real and what's not.
absolutely.
During the world of AI, there's so many. We're going to see so much deep fake. This
Oh, yeah.
person saying they never said. It's going to be harder and harder to tell what to believe.
And hence, that's why more and more people right now, what they're really craving for desperately is more authenticity. That's one thing that I cannot touch, at least
Yeah,
not yet. Authenticity, speaking from the heart. These are the foundation of everything I do. Because again, that's what makes us humans.
yeah,
And yeah, I don't know if you remember way back in the early 90s, I was a kid growing up. We were seeing those videos about futuristic new inventions where you can call someone on your big bulky phone and see them in a video on a small little black and white screen. We say, wow, that would be amazing.
yeah,
Do you remember those?
yeah. Absolutely, and all the Star Trek things. It
Yeah.
came. The doors that automatically opened when that show came out, those weren't around yet. The tricorder that would read the energy of your body and heal you, which is kind of what PEMF is doing. The flip phone, beam me up, Scotty. Pretty much everything that was shown on Star Trek as some futuristic device is now part of our world.
Speaking of that, I would like your feedback on something. I feel that quite a lot of movies are not movies, they're documentaries. Because one thing I read is that whatever they want to do, whatever they have to bring, they have to notify. It's called preemptive programming.
Yes,
Like The
yes.
Matrix, perfect example. That's not a movie, that's a documentary. Same thing for Star Trek.
Yeah.
What are your
The
thoughts on that?
Terminator.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's a big one. Yes.
Enemy of the state. Like that was
Judgment Day.
you know, at different times. But yeah, all the movies, you know, they're part of the big control system, right?
Programming, yes. They have to disclose what they're doing and direct it to music, movies, books, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not fiction.
So yeah, we're all being brainwashed into areas. So when I watch things now, I'm very conscious of that. That you
Yeah,
know that it is all basically brainwashing, and they do have to kind of tell you what they're doing. It's part of
yeah.
the code, kind of, you know, like the symbology of things and the sign language that they use and the
Oh,
little
yeah.
hidden like that. They do have to, and even some of the philanthropy that's being done, right? For the bad that they're doing, they've got to go and do this over here,
Balance
right?
it. Yes, yes, yes.
Things out. And then they've always got that deniability as well. We told you, you know, you can't blame us. We told you, didn't you see that movie? You know, like, you know,
Yeah.
so it's very blatant and in your face. And yeah, we just take it as entertainment,
Yes,
but and programming, which is, you know, it is literally programming people's brains.
absolutely. Another thing that they're big on, species in the past 2, 3 years, with all the new, uh, you know, news about UFOs and all that, is a possible UFO invasion. You know,
Yeah,
Dr. Greer has talked a lot about this. A lot of people call him crazy, but they're just preparing the terrain, so to speak.
yeah,
So let's see what's going to happen on that.
yeah, yeah. I think you can. Well, I mean, like shows like The Simpsons, where they've
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, they know a lot
over
of
the
things.
years, little things that are identical to what happens 10 years later in the real world, right? They just
These guys are either time travelers or they have access or they're being fed by the whatever the powers that be, what they're
yeah,
gonna do. That's part of the preemptive programming.
yeah, yeah. It's a strange world that we live in, and I don't pretend to even understand it all. You know,
Do you think that we're some kind of simulation like The Sims from some advanced computer or being that the game that you choose your character, you decide how they live, what kind of life they live, how they grow, and all that. Do you think that we are somebody's characters in a video game?
I I mean, somebody could be watching and looking at us that way. I don't feel that we're that. You know, like yeah, I don't know. I don't have enough understanding of quantum physics and the way everything is working to really have a proper opinion on that kind of thing. But it is, and like the Truman Show where they had
Yes.
that. Well, there was a real world incident where they built a place like that,
Wow.
and, and that kind of show. I just saw that last week actually that I learned about that. I should have saved it because it was fascinating. But they did. They hired a whole. It was hundreds or thousands of people that lived in this little area that they built, and then they had a few people that didn't know anything about it, but everybody else was in on the game.
Wow.
And then they had this TV show that went on for a while. I can't remember all the details,
Mm,
but it was like a real Truman Show. It was a
wow.
completely fabricated world that these people were living in, and most of the people were in on the game, but a few of them weren't.
Wow. Another thing that came to mind while you were speaking was imagine that there are beings way more advanced. So they're just bored. They want some vacation or some experience. They just select the character, the time, and all
Yeah,
the factors, men, women, poor, rich, famous, whatever. And you just go on experience and you just slip into a container, a character, and they just leave out that role. And once they finish, they go back, they want to try something else.
yeah, yeah. It's hard to say. To me, anything is possible.
Yes, that's the thing. Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
and there's a lot of the ancient buildings and things. The
Yeah.
what people are calling Tartarian kind of civilization,
Oh, that's another big one. Yes.
structures that were built, supposedly in a year, all the World's Fairs that happened at the end of the 1800s, all the architecture that was destroyed and buried, and we can't even build anything like that today. And it all had sacred geometry, and all the pyramids are lined up with the planets. And sorry, but we didn't build that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Not with our technology or any technology we had as primitive people.
Speaking about the Tartarians, I saw a documentary on them a while ago that said if you look at all the really ancient, and by ancient I mean 2, 3, 4, 500, 600 years old buildings, they were very stunning. While today's building are very bland, no originality, all the same concrete blocks and nothing unique.
And square, right?
Yeah,
Like most of our buildings are squares, rectangles, right?
yeah,
Whereas all the ancient ones had arches and round
stunning.
windows and
Yes,
domes, and it was all sacred geometry, and
yes.
it was all about sound frequencies. So they had a different understanding of frequency and health, and the disappearance and destruction of all the bells
Mhm.
that would give you healing frequencies. Churches were healing centers where you would go in, and the sound frequencies would affect your body and heal you. So those kind of Tesla kind of. I never learned about Tesla in school. We heard about Einstein,
Or
but
Edison,
at,
yeah.
not at once in my whole education did I hear about Nikola Tesla.
Isn't that the greatest tragedy?
Yeah, and who knows what's still being hidden, right? Because all his stuff was confiscated, right? So
We could
that's
have had a completely different civilization if they had allowed them to have free energy. There would be no poverty, no pollution, no disease.
yeah, but that doesn't make money for the handful of people that are running the planet, right?
Wasn't
So
it Edison that straight up told Tesla, hey, we can't put a meter on it. So therefore, it's
yeah,
not good.
that's right. Yeah.
Free energy. Wow. Listen, Adrian, I'm so delighted that we connected. We're completely on the same page. Let's wrap things up, but we'll definitely do a part 2 next week to talk about your business and all that. We haven't even touched that and your background. So thank you for coming here and sharing about your background. So if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
Really through my website. There's different ways. There's a contact form on there, and they can easily reach out, and we can set up phone calls or Zooms or whatever people want to do. So it's just PEMF solution.com. So Peter, Edward, Michael, Frank solution, no S on the end.com. That's the best way to learn a little bit more about me and reach out and contact me if they want to.
Awesome. Awesome. I'll put that on the show notes. So listen, Adrian, I salute you. You're truly leader with a heart. I'm glad that we're completely aligned on the major thing, that we see things the same way, all about freedom. And I salute you. Stay safe, stay awesome. You're a true leader with a heart. Keep shining a light, keep blessing the world, keep impacting and helping people, saving lives, and all sharing your gifts, your wisdoms. Always remember yourself for a gift. Stay safe, stay awesome. God bless, and talk to you very soon for part 2. And I can't wait for part 2, my friend. Take care. Cheers. Bye bye.